Hi, I'm Bill Reicherter, founder and CEO of the ZeeZone. I'm here today with Teresa, the founder and CEO of Quest, the business triathlete. Okay. So you're a triathlete?
I am.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of work.
You know, it is. I started marathon running back in 2000. And 4 or 5 years ago, I got into the world of triathlons. And it's been a life-changing experience.
You talk about the simple strategies of success.
Yeah.
You also talk about starting at the finish so you can plan your success to get there.
I was coaxed into my very first marathon from a friend of mine that said, sign on the dotted line and make a commitment to do 26.2 miles, that my motivation really started to kick in. I then had a clear goal. It was defining where that goal was, and as I moved into the world of triathlons and Ironman, the goal was clear. I knew that the finish line was going to be 140.6 miles from where I started. Now, looking back, it wasn't at the race that these elements all came together. It was visualizing that 8 months beforehand and then taking steps every day. So in connecting that with business, without really having a defined finish line, how do you know every day whether or not you're working towards your goals?
For example, we want to accomplish X amount as a sales organization. The goal is $1 million by the end of the month.
Exactly.
They start with the goal, then how would you tell them to work backwards to reach that goal?
So when you have the finish line defined, you really do step back and go, okay, what is it going to take? Where is it coming from? What actions will support the strategies to get there? Not all things are created equal. Another element that we talk about in Business Triathlete is apples.
Define apples. Apples has a meaning to you.
Yeah, the acronym for apples is Absolute Priorities, Empowering Life Effectiveness. And that is just really defining what are those things that absolutely have to be done if eventually you're going to get to where you're going.
Right.
And knowing that ahead of time, you actually put thoughtful, mindful, pre-planned activities in place to nourish those. And those are things that could be business strategies, relationship building. A lot of times, spending time with our family, loved ones, friends, that's nourishing our goals. And unfortunately, there's a lot of time where we're putting in hours on mindless activities that could be spent towards those type of things.
Well, you know, and take that one step further. I think in a lot of organizations, people that have a sales goal or have any goal, they find medial tasks to do all day to occupy themselves, not working on a bigger picture. And I think that's what one of the goals that you have in mind of helping people is to see the bigger picture and realize how to bring it back. It's organize it in big steps and not look at little things that really make a difference at the end, or don't make a difference at the end of the day, instead of working on the big picture every day to make that happen. One of the things you mentioned in the webinar, hydration. Being they were both former athlete and you're a current athlete, why is hydration so important in a person's body and keeping them focused? Because you made a good point in the webinar, and I want everybody to hear that again, because most people don't take the time to nourish their bodies during the day.
And it's from my personal experience. I'm certainly not a nutritionist, but based on being a triathlete, there's a definite difference in performance when you're taking care of your body. Hydration, for me, was a critical element, especially realizing that from a mental capacity. I read somewhere that your brain's made 80% of water. And I've experienced this, when you're dehydrated, you start to get a headache. Well, prior to even a pain or headache, you're just not as clear in your thinking if you're not taking care of your body and hydrating. I know from a function standpoint, real health issues can relate if you're not hydrating appropriately from an endurance sports standpoint. And many of us are endurance athletes in the business world. I know folks who work, at the office 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day.
Right.
That's an endurance event.
This is amazing what you've been able to deliver to the folks today. Your core focus, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Real quick, why those four and why in the order that you have it?
That was actually, I can't take credit for that. I used that as a source that I read in an article. It was from Harvard Business Review, The Corporate Athlete, and it was their pyramid. I thought it was incredibly relevant to the work, and it made sense to me. You've heard folks talk about being in the zone, right?
The ZeeZone.
Being in the zone, literally. And having that calm, clear focus that is also something at times that escapes us and we mindlessly go through the day. However, if we put rituals or practices in place that help us keep focused, with our bodies being taken care of, we have clarity in what needs to be done. So what would normally take, if you're tired and burnt out, an hour or two to do, you can in fact cut time off of delivering things from a performance standpoint. How do I want to be? And a lot of times we don't step back and think about that. We just say, what do I need to do today? Versus, what do I need to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to make today count?
Teresa Garza is known as the business triathlete for a healthy bottom, as in bottom line. But that was pretty catchy. So Teresa can be found on her website, myepicquest.com. You can also find Teresa on ZeeZone, www.zeezone.org. And for more information on upcoming webinars, also log on to ZeeZone. And from ZeeZone and Teresa at myepicquest.com, we thank you.